John Hines, coach of the Minnesota Wild, joins 9 to noon at the Box in the Box from TRIA Rink in St. Paul. Wild and the red, white, and blue of Madison Square Garden immortality this evening. The New York Rangers games at the X. Listen to it on KFAN with Joe O'Donnell and Tom Reed right around 7 o'clock, and the head coach joins us now. Emotional win Tuesday night. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, now, so this, you've had a day off, and then Colorado was on a back-to-back, and Rangers played Winnipeg recently, but had time to chill. So for you guys, is it when you get an emotional win like that, and yet you still have a day off to kind of decompress, then the skate today, play tonight, do you have to guard against anything, any human nature-related things? That was a super emotional win against a team with whom we're really familiar. Oh, here comes this Eastern Conference team with some high-end skill guys, and it's the first time we played them this year. Anything to guard against?
I think maybe earlier in the year, but I think where we're at, in the season, 17 games left, playoff run, playoff race, and understanding the team coming in and how we need to play. I think our team's focused, and we know what we need to do, and we know. The team coming in has a lot of high-end talent, and they're a really good team, and they're fighting for their lives, and that's what makes this time of year exciting. So I think the days off, because of how hard the games are and how much you have to play, I think they're beneficial for a group.
Do you come into so now with what you have now, which would be Sands, Kirill, Eki, and Brodsey. Good to see Brodsey skating today. With what you have now, do you come into games like after skates knowing, hey, all systems absolutely go tonight? Is that the case every single game? Or do you come into it and it's like, well, we got to work around some things. Somebody's got something going on here. Somebody's nicked up here. When you're down some key players.
It's really the same routine. If you're healthy or you're down players, lots of times there are guys that are, banged up or whatnot. Lots of times you get through the morning skate, and then usually I'll meet with the trainers again. I'll do media and then go back in and make sure that everything's good. Usually come in the morning and they'll make sure that, hey, this guy's a little banged up, but he's going to skate, and we'll see how it feels. So lots of times you get the final, usually after everything's done in the morning.
Right, and you can tell early in games kind of what I would imagine what the feel's like, and then like whether you got to crack the whip and get into a group or some people, and then the response is what you would hope it would be, and it would be all systems go, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like being a jockey. You're on the horse and you're reading it. Sometimes the horse is going, it's flying, and you just ride it. Sometimes you got to whip it. Sometimes you got to control it. It's once you get into the game, that's really what it is. It's observing, it's feel, it's where's the emotion, who's playing well, who's not. All those types of things are what the in-game coaching is about.
And the reason I'm bringing all of this up now is you're so late in the season, where it's just, the distractions and the bumps and the bruises and things that you'll be facing now, dramatically different than even before the Four Nations and like 2024, stuff like that. It's the human nature and just the nature of how this game works with fewer than 20 games to go. Now against Colorado, Zuki and Boldy in the shootout, it just came so easily. Is the Colorado goalie, is he generally shoddy in shootouts? Like statistically?
Yeah, you know what? I don't necessarily remember off the top of my head if he is, but those two guys are great shootout guys. Zook's been a great shootout player his whole career, and then even when you look at Boldy and shootouts, even at the Four Nations tournament, he was going to be in our rotation to go. When you look at the amount of talent and experience on that team, Bolds is at 50% this year. So I think both are confident in it, and they did a great job.
How's Faber playing for you these days?
I think Faber's played really well the last couple games. I think he's been he's been solid for us. We ask a lot of Brock, but I really like how he and his partner Middleton have played the last couple games. That's the style of game that we need from both of them.
So is it fair to say, until you get the return of some firepower that, or a different form of firepower, you just have to grind out low-scoring games? I mean, it's like coaches, I would imagine, don't want to concede something like that. And I've read some of your quotes and seen the press conferences where you're like, we're playing the right way. We're playing the right way. There are opportunities here. That's hockey. It's just not happening. On the other side of it, do games have to be constructed so that you win low-scoring games.
You know what? I look at this situation we're going through as a huge positive, right? Like, it makes you battle-tested. You have to play in tight games. There's a limited margin for error. You have to take care of the puck, win critical areas. You have to be able to understand how to play in tight games. Ultimately, when you get to the playoffs, 9 times out of 10, that's the case, is it not? So to me, I think what we're going through and the way that our team has responded to it, has stayed with it, I think it's only benefiting us. It's making us better to be a disciplined details team, to understand how to manage a game, play in tight games. Sometimes if you get high-scoring games, you can get away with things you can't get away with in the most important time of the year. So I really like what the opportunity is presented in front of us right now with what we're going through, and I think the guys have responded really well to it.
That's terrific. So, I mean, it has to be complicit 100% buy-in, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you feel you have that?
Yes.
Absolutely. John Hines, coach of the Minnesota Wild and Rangers this evening. A few more minutes with the coach. The Rangers have lost 4 in a row. 3 have come right down to the wire, including that Winnipeg meat grinder the other night. What's challenging with them?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. They have really good goaltending. They have an excellent power. Both their special teams are very good, and they have a lot of talent. I think they're coming down a stretch. They're fighting for their lives. I think that they're playing intense hockey. They're committed to check without the puck right now, and they have players that can really hurt you if you give them time and space, or you're loose defensively. They got guys that can hurt you with and they generate chances, but if they don't get a ton of chances, they still can score easy.
Do you happen to remember Ron Duguay?
Yep.
For the Rangers, skating around, no helmet, hair flowing in the breeze, probably sponsored by Vidal Sassoon, and just how different things were then compared to like now.
Yeah, I mean everything, like you said, guys playing with no helmets and the goalie pads and the size of the goalies, and all those things are so different. The shin pads, the shoulder pads, everything was smaller.
With the Rangers, Shesterkin's goals against average by far the worst of his career. I mean, sharing what you choose to share. Any idea what's happening there?
I don't really. I just know that he's a heck of a goalie, right? And I think when it's at this point in the year, he's an elite goaltender. His team needs him. They need to win games. So, we're preparing right now that he's going to play his best game.
Two to go. 10:24 with John Hines. Marcus Foligno. Marcus Foligno's game of late, throwing his body in front of every single thing that's out there. I mean, he's a tough guy in the first place. He's valued member of the Covenant in the first place. But, I mean, he's taken it to another level, hasn't he?
Yeah, he is, and that's what we need from him. Like, he's an emotional leader for us. His identity as a player when he's playing our best and helping our team is when he's doing that. He's a physical, confrontational guy. He brings emotion. He helps drag the team into the battle, and we need him to continue that at a high level.
Morning skate nearly underway, last one with John Hines. More skill guys on the penalty kill. Is that becoming a common thread because of the situation you have right now? And, being a player, being a coach, and living scared or being, worried about, hey, I got this guy here and he's not normally there, and if he blocks a shot and we got a problem, then we got a real problem. Like how do you navigate that?
Well, one of the things is our penalty kill hasn't been good enough this year, and we've played certain guys. We've changed the system 2 or 3 times from last year to this year in season. The penalty kill that we do now, we did at the Four Nations. We didn't give up a goal in the Four Nations. So to us, it's more of, you look at a lot of the best teams in the league, there's 2 or 3 top-end players that are killing penalties. And I think the hockey sense, the instincts, the reads. So, sometimes you need to change the personnel or give guys different opportunities if something's not working.
Tear it up tonight. Appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks, my man.
Yep. See you. John Hines, coach of the Minnesota Wild. Second half of the presentation will include some Wolves commentary, some more football commentary. Then the captain, Wes Walls, joins us at about 11 o'clock.
The Twin Cities Auto Show, presented by Quick Trip, is rolling into the Minneapolis Convention Center April 11th through the 19th. The Twin Cities Auto Show is the place to compare hundreds of new vehicles in every category, all under one roof without driving to dealerships around town, including new makes and models that can't be found on dealer lots. Find all the details at TwinCitiesAutoShow.com.
Hey, Maxwell, what's going on?
Hey, what's good, PA?
You watch the Wolves?
I was catching some Z's last night, but it sounds
Okay.
like the Denver Nuggets were too. I caught up this morning. I didn't watch the whole game, every single basket, but I saw the highlights. I read the stories and everything.
Yeah, well, here's the reason I brought it up before we start talking to the con is we're approaching Howling with the Homie season.
Yes, sir.
I mean, new T-shirts, new playoff vibes. But see, we got a key here, man. We got to get out of this play-in clipping penalty. But
Right.
we're going to be howling with the homies here shortly, aren't we?
We going to be howling, baby. We going to be howling. We going to be hooty-hooing. It's about that time. Yeah, we just need them to get up out of the play-in, man. They're tied with the Warriors, both 16 and a half games back from first place. They on a 6-game winning streak. Warriors on a 5-game winning streak. We need Steph to stop splashing just a little bit for a couple games because we want to get up out of that play-in and face those Denver Nuggets. Because if the Wolves do jump to the 6th seed, they would face the Denver Nuggets, who they are 3-0 against this season. How awesome would that be?
Yeah, we would take that.
Howling with the homies doesn't show up until they're six in a row.
Right.
See, that's the key. We got vacations in the mix. We got hibernation. Team wins 6 in a row.
We're over there
Everyone's
looking for
healthy.
diamonds in Zambia.
Yeah, I need to hear a hooty hoo when there's none to
Seriously.
be found.
Running
These
into
crickets.
Leonardo DiCaprio, catching strays out of nowhere.
Yeah, then
Leonardo
DiVincenzo gets back.
DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
All right, I can't wait to chat with you in person about your trip, okay?
Of course.
Nords.
Yeah.
Good thing they have dispensaries in Colorado because Nuggets fans needed self-medication after the Wolves' dismantling of that squad last night. I mean, it was one-sided the entire game. It never was in question. Just listen to this. It never was in question on the road against a 42-24 team with a guy in Nikola Jokic who a week ago had a 30-20-20.
Yeah.
And that sucker was never in question last night.
No, it was not.
I'm glad they have dispensaries, but during quarter breaks they can self-medicate and kind of take their medicine.
Yeah, I don't know how warm it is or people sleeping in parks out there. However, whatever they're doing to medicate themselves.
Sleeping in parks, though.
And find some bliss in
The
nature.
hell?
Because the basketball team, specifically against the Wolves. Now, I don't know how you view it, PA. I don't look at the Wolves as being like a push-button operation. But there are
it is now.
But there are elements to it
Yeah.
where it can be.
Yeah.
Where you hit on it yesterday, and I'm glad you did, with Michael Porter Jr. When Michael Porter Jr. is going off, that's a problem for the howl. And nobody is howling with the homies when you have Michael Porter Jr. doing his thing.
Yeah.
But you saw stretches last night where it's like, okay, Ant, and is he lackadaisical out there at times? Does he have slow starts? Big smile on and all of those things. When this team wants to shut down and say, no, you're just not going to do anything tonight, Michael, they do that.
Yep.
You saw Jamal Murray last night. Jamal Murray's healthy. Is he very good right now? I'm not sure because I think he started 0 of 7, 0 of 8.
Yeah.
He had a disastrous night. So
we made him look bad.
This is a game, and maybe it's similar against the Suns. You can try and play matchups and certain things go our way, but the consistency of it is we're hammering on this team, and it's and we've talked about it before as well. The idea of when we face some of these teams, we've seen their stars go off. Jokic has had unbelievable games against the Timberwolves. We watch OKC, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is dropping 40 on people. We played the Mavericks, and it could be Kyrie. It formerly could be Luka, etc. But it's those other options that the Wolves have been so good at just completely eliminating from the conversation. The movement with the ball last night was flawless, and it was truly a start to finish. We're just better than you. We're going to stomp on you, and we're going to leave the mile high while the rest of you are left to get high.
In the Mile Get High City. Now, here, I believe, is a key. Chris Finch joins 9 to noon weekly. And he was on Tuesday, started the show on Tuesday. And after they beat the San Antonio Spurs, where they scored a season-high 141, after that game, Chris Finch, paraphrasing, said something along the lines of, well, yeah, I mean, we can get 10 deep, okay? And you have 8, and then you have Shannon Jr., Dillingham, and Clark. So, like I posed to him, all right, well, if you're going to get 10 deep, then you got these obvious 8, and then whomever of those 3 are playing the best or have a best matchup-related situation, you'll use them. And he goes, yes. But see, here's the key, is after the Spurs game, he said they all have bought in. We are at a stage where they all are bought in. Listen to the podcast, KFAN.com, and you can hear his complete answer. That was one of the major keys of the season, and here's why. Because the buy-in includes Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards perfectly complementing each other. They're perfectly complementing each other. I mean, if Ant comes up with some kind of sickness like he did at Miami, goes 13-13. By the way, Ant sick, 13 points, 13 rebounds. Julius complements and amplifies it better than before he got hurt. Ant will see Julius do some things that might be passing to get throwing people open for 10 assists or playing bully ball on Michael Porter Jr., and he acquiesces and understands, and it's part of the buy-in process. Now, last night, you talk about these two perfectly complementing each other. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful. Edwards goes for 29. Julius goes for 25 in 27 minutes on 9 of 12 shooting.
It was awesome.
Yeah, every day. Bottle it every day.
Yeah.
I mean, love in a bottle right there, man.
Well, and how about Ant's passing last night, too? I mean,
his
not
passing
only
is the bomb.
He's getting over the hump and
yes,
and on the shooting standpoint and all of that, and he's going to go for 29, and he was feeling very good at times last night. But the way that I think there were a couple of times he found Jaden in the corner for deep, like it's when Ant is in. Again, that's the push button aspect of it, but Ant is so talented, best player on court quality.
Bro, he was toying with the Nuggets last night. He was looking at the crowd and smiling. He had 29. He had the countenance of somebody who's like, if anybody dares and talks trash here, I'm going to score 50.
Correct.
Okay, they can't stop me.
No.
Julius Randle is getting the and ones. Just absolutely mauling Michael Porter Jr.
The only thing that could stop Ant last night was Finch taking him off the court so that there were no injuries because the game was freaking over.
How about this? And I don't think it can be disputed. Denver can't beat Finchy. Yeah. They can't beat Finchy all of a sudden.
Trouble.
Yeah, the Wolves have beaten Denver 3 consecutive this season, 10 of the last 14 in the regular season. They outscored the Nuggets every quarter last night. And limited, this is a common thread in these victories over the Denver Nuggets, limiting the playmaking of Jokic, limiting Joker's playmaking. He had 4 assists last night, okay? And that's key because it's a major part of the plan, from what I understand, when it comes to beating the Nuggets. It's certainly not, let's let Nikola go for 50 and we'll shut everybody else down. No, let's try to keep him relatively in check, but here's the deal. He wants to pass because he wants to get everybody else going because everybody in the universe, in the history of the universe, knows what he can do. And he's pretty unstoppable. So let's limit his passing. Let's get in passing lanes. Let's frustrate him. Go ahead and look at the assists with Jokic against the Wolves for the most part during the last 20 games. This is a bit. This is a thing. This is a strategy. This is part of the plan. And ever since it became part of the plan, limiting Jokic's playmaking and keeping his assists down, Malone can't beat Finch.
No, that's a good point, and they continue. I remember, whether it was Aaron Gordon had some success against the Wolves in the playoff series last year.
Yep.
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in the corner for some 3-point shots and makes, but a lot of that started with Jokic drawing all the attention and getting all the action inside, and then the playmaking side of it pushing it out. So that's a really important part of this. They didn't have Gordon last night.
Right.
They get some cat. What is it, Peyton Watson or whatever that he can be good from 3 or
he was there
can be
last year.
6. All of that. So I mean, just whatever they're throwing at Finch has the freaking answer.
But just in closing for this segment, and we'll get back into the Howl in the final hour after Walsey. Around the corner, some Minnesota Vikings quarterback perceived quandary conversation.
How were they favored in the game last night? I'm sorry. The Nuggets.
Brother, 42-24.
No, I understand.
And they're at home.
I understand that. I think about it just again, playing the matchup of this team against that team. It's like wrong team favored.
How hot are the Howl? How hot is the Howl? Again, here is when we tell you this. The game never was in question. The Wolves made it a one-sided affair to their advantage the entire game.
Yeah.
It was on the road. It was against a 42-24 team with a guy who a week ago had a 30-20-20 game in Nikola Jokic. And they outscored them every single quarter. It was a masterpiece. It was an absolute masterpiece last night, which led to 6 in a row for Rudy Go. 6 in a row for Rudy Go. 6 in a row for Mike Coe. 6 in a row for Mike Coe. And 6 in a row for Fincho. 6 in a row for Fincho. We'll be howling with the homies some more a little later in the show. Don't leave.
The NCHC Frozen Face-Off is bringing the best of college hockey to XL Energy Center for one final time. Tickets are still available for all sessions on March 21st and 22nd. Don't miss out on the chance to see a champion crowned in St. Paul one last time. For full event details and to get your tickets today, head over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Captain Wes Walls joins 9 to noon from TRIA Rink and a Minnesota Wild morning skate. We got a box in the box in play right now. Brodsey, Jonas Brodin, skated an hour and change ago in preparation for his return one of these days. Today will not be that day, but nevertheless, good to see Brodsey, a high-end blue liner, back on the ice. And nothing new with Kirill Kaprizov or Joel Eriksson Ek, with the exception that all the elite hockey minds joining 9 to noon today. That would include Kevin Gorg, Russo Radio, and head coach John Hines. They all intimated that with Eriksson Ek and Kirill Kaprizov, it's not an if they return, it's a when they return.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it might be with a game or two to go in the season, but it's not, which is, really from a hockey standpoint, that's kind of like, what I came here, that was like my goal with Vox in the Box is, it's not that we're breaking news or anything on this, but just to separate the if or the when. I mean, truly, it's. I saw what Bill Guerin said, and I'm going to follow that and respect that, but I just wanted to hear it from some other people if they believe the returns for the high-enders is an if they return or a when they return, and the when seemed to be the common thread. Now, when it comes to quarterbacks in the National Football League, if you missed 9 to noon about 90 minutes ago, we talked that out for a good 10 or 15 minutes. A lot of things that are floating around in the Twitter sphere and floating around with reports involving the Minnesota Vikings, veteran backup quarterbacks, Hall of Famer to be, who most recently played for the New York Jets, and just how yours truly kind of feels that out at this moment. Alec Lewis and I went back and forth on it a little bit yesterday, and Alex said some things with which I just disagree, and I'd come clipping in because I just didn't want it. It wasn't right. There's some of it. I shouldn't say it wasn't right. I just disagreed with the approach on it.
Okay.
And then now you look at social media, some of the texts and calls I was getting yesterday, and when you, middle of the afternoon, came through with a series of texts, I'm like, you know what? I'm so sick of this right now. It's like a few years ago, day of the draft, Nacho Lieber, Charchian, and Eric Nordquist, yours truly, and I caught wind with something involving Aaron Rodgers that was 10 of 10 true, and about him and potentially wanting to play for San Francisco and just going with some things, and it blew up. I had no idea it was going to catch fire like that, but it did. The veracity was 10 of 10, and so I wanted to make that yesterday kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So I put some work into it because A, it matters to you, and B, it matters to a lot of people in the fan base. And here's kind of what we came up with is that, Aaron Rodgers, there is a deal from the Pittsburgh Steelers available for Aaron Rodgers right now. Maybe the New York Giants. Fair question. Does he want to play for either? All right. Now, why wouldn't you want to play for Pittsburgh? All right. We can unpack that maybe more tomorrow on the feast. It has some run first to it. That might change with a DK Metcalf in the fold, with Pickens and the tight end Freiermuth, assuming he's still there, and draft and the whole thing. Okay, so yes, the Steelers could be a playoff team, and why wouldn't they be? Tomlin makes the playoffs every single year. So that's in front of him, but some would say he's waffling, or some would also say he's holding that team hostage. Secondly, if you believe there's a deal in front of Aaron Rodgers from the New York Giants, I'm not one to say there is. I didn't really investigate that too much yesterday.
Well, it did kind of shock me a couple days ago, and I still forget, and I don't want to place it because it shocked me when I heard it, whether it was Rap Sheet, might have been Garofalo on the NFL Network.
Yeah.
Tons of respect for the work that they put into this.
Yeah.
But they were, one of those, I believe, were making it sound like that was actually a real decision.
Right.
And
why?
I can't see that from a Giants perspective.
I can't see it from a Rodgers perspective too.
Well, right.
You know what I mean?
So, from a Rodgers going to the Giants standpoint, that's what I mean. In terms
I'm going to finish my career there and win 4 games.
Yeah.
And play outside and it gets cold and the turf is hard and I'm going to be miserable.
Yeah, and there's an aspect to this, and maybe this sounds dumb, from Rodgers' camp, because there is, and I totally see this from the standpoint that a lot of this energy being pushed towards the purple, it just has to be with the way agents and these conversations happen. That wave of momentum starting from Rodgers' side. If we were truly going to put a scale in terms of energy invested in this, I feel like it would massively be weighed down on Rodgers' side. Is there any chance that it's maybe Vikings or bust for like an Aaron Rodgers who...
Great question.
Because, again, the way that I look at the Giants, why do I look down on the Giants? Because I don't believe they have any shot at winning a Super Bowl in 2025.
Yeah.
And they will be trying... And the quarterback spot has a lot to do with it. Of course, they have Malik Neighbors. But outside of that, defensively, they're trying to rework that thing. Mm-hmm. And Daboll, is this the home run? He's gone from coach of the year to maybe not being a coach in a couple of years.
Right.
I just don't think they're ready to compete. And if I'm Rodgers at this age, after what I just endured in the same stadium, at least with the Jets, I would have zero interest in even entertaining that.
Right.
But the Vikings, of course he would be intrigued, quote unquote, by being here.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings actually are in a spot potentially where it's super high-end quarterback play away from being a talker in the NFC playoffs.
And I'm not a reporter, okay? I don't go down that road. I don't look to break stories on the radio or on Twitter. And there are some incredibly good ones who make that their careers.
Yeah.
It's a big part of their identity. It's a 0 with my identity. I should say it's a 1. And the 1 would be when I feel I need it, which was yesterday into today. And so therefore I got a lot of respect for the people who are locally and nationally reporting the way they are, because I find it to be all accurate from people with whom I chatted yesterday that, yes, Aaron Rodgers is very, 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 very intrigued with playing for the Minnesota Vikings. To which I'm like, no bleep, Sherlock. Why wouldn't you be? Okay, let me see. What do you got here? Your former teammate Aaron Jones, who's still good. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Christian Darrisaw, a high-end quarterback-friendly staff led by Kevin O'Connell. Oh, geez, he's just the National Football League Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
And the majority of your games are indoors. Oh, geez, okay.
Sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, that's really surprising that somebody right at the end at age 41 who may or may not be battling injuries during the course of a year at this age. It just happens to old people when they play. Geez, what a shocker that he's intrigued by a 14-win team that has all of that to offer. Okay, so that's accurate, but okay, whatever. It's not an over-the-top. I haven't seen any reporting where it's like off what you just said. I've learned, and this is not me talking, I'm just speculating, where you don't see any of the, I have heard that if it's not the purple and gold, he's done. Okay,
right.
So
I've heard none of that.
There are no proclamations like that coming from anywhere. So then on the other side, it's a consistent tone of the Vikings are keeping their options open.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the milquetoast variety to that is nobody saying, let's say there's like one person wants Aaron, another person who's a decision maker doesn't, and I don't know that to be true. There's no daggering of it like the Vikings, here's what I got from the Vikings. No, it's just they're keeping their options open, right?
Sure.
Did I frame that up right?
I think you did, yeah.
Okay, so then now you just need to define it from the baseline as you unpack it. And it's like, okay, he's intrigued. No bleep, Sherlock. Look what they have.
Yeah.
That's okay. So, yeah, he's intrigued.
Perfect.
Hey, geez. So we'll stop there. Secondly, they're keeping their options open. So now, if you believe they're interested in a veteran backup quarterback, which we and the world does, and by definition, he plays the position.
Right.
So that makes him an option.
Yeah.
So that's milquetoast. That's you can put that out there as long as you want, and by definition, because he plays the position and they have a need, of course he's a freaking option.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting back like you, and you got frustrated with it yesterday, then you pissed me off, then I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to put time into this today because I'm tired of talking about it, just like I was a few years ago with that draft-related thing.
Oh, man.
Where there's a media member from Wisconsin who called me and got my number somehow and called me a liar, and I'm like, bro, here's the deal. I'll go find $10,000 and put it in a briefcase. You do the same thing. We'll meet in Stillwater, and then I will show you my texts.
Yeah.
And then we'll see who gets whose money, okay? Never called me back. It's one of those.
Oh, yeah.
When I say, yes, he's an option because he's a quarterback. Is he an option immediately for the Minnesota Vikings? I can't say that. Can I say, copyright the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want? Yeah, I feel that a little bit from the player side of the standpoint. And then it gets back to J.J. McCarthy. Is they love J.J. McCarthy, despite knowing there will be metaphorical moguls along the way. Why? Because he's new, and he's 22 years of age.
Yeah.
Okay? So next point would be, when do you go on J.J.? When? So therefore, if there are people of the decision-making variety or people who, I don't know, somehow it ends up like, okay, that's it, so-and-so gives in, so-and-so decides I want to go this way, and here comes Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to be the starter.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you tell Aaron Rodgers you're coming here as a backup or to battle for the job, he's going to say, cool, I'll do it, because he's desperate for a spot. But do we really believe that he's coming here to acquiesce?
It won't last a week.
I don't think it will either, and I think the past performances would bear fruit off that.
Yes.
From a lack of trustworthy standpoint.
I'm glad you mentioned the reps, too, because that has been an argument in this conversation with Rodgers, is the idea that you're going into this season and you add Jonathan Allen, you add Hargrave, you add all of this. Everything looks fantastic on paper. And you're going to go.
Hold on. Walsey, about 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Thank you.
You're going to add this guy, all these guys, and then J.J. McCarthy hasn't taken a snap. Well, okay, so
when does that stop?
Correct. So is 23? Is that the right time?
Right.
Does he need to add 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 15 pounds of muscle? We need to wait until he's entirely mature and developed. At what point, when you draft a kid 10th overall? And when you put a stamp on a quarterback like that in the draft, at some point you want to see him. That will, J.J. McCarthy, for better or worse, is going to be one of the most important decisions in the Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell era here.
Yeah.
And so should we get Rodgers on a 2-year deal then? And so at what point do you pull the trigger and just say, the kid is healthy.
Yeah.
He's in our building. We liked him enough to draft him. I love what I've seen in the meetings room, and he's ready to go for OTAs. That's our guy, and we're going to build around him. So
let me take it a step farther before we pause.
Yeah.
Because these are contractual media reports where the Jets owe Aaron Rodgers X amount of dollars. They're willing to pay X amount. If it hits a certain date, they're going to have to pay basically the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like there's that weird pre- and post-first thing, all sorts of bits.
So what if Aaron Rodgers is available for 1 year at a price that is lower than the backup you'll eventually find?
I can't fathom that.
Okay, well, say that's accurate.
Yeah.
There's no change to the bet because the money part doesn't matter. We're not talking 10, 15, 20, 25. Like, Favre got 1 and 20 his first year here in 2009.
I understand.
Okay, we ain't talking that. So it doesn't really matter what the number is, but it would be lower, potentially, than the Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett just went to Arizona, but just the names du jour.
Let's say if Flacco was a 1 and 10, you could actually get Rodgers for 1 and 9.
Okay.
Something like that.
There's no change to the bet. if you compensate Aaron Rodgers, you bring him in to start, you tell McCarthy you have to wait, and around all of that, you have to be willing to deal with the ancillary past performances and current nature of it that's going to come with Aaron. And that's just it. I mean, do we have to define it? I'm not going to define it. People could say Pat McAfee, he rolls his eyes on the sideline, and in a preseason game when McCarthy throws a terrible pick, McAfee peppering him on a Tuesday, the eye roll. You know, what's it like? What's it like? What's it like?
Well, and that's what it would be, too.
So that's just one example. Yeah. But you know what? I brought it up earlier, and I'm not gonna downplay this thing, man. That NFL, you can't have it both ways with the NFLPA report card. Okay, you can't brag about your shoe size when you're top dog 2 years ago, second overall, with the players saying the coach is A+, the amenities are A+, and all that, and you end up second a year after you finish first. You can't brag about the size of your feet when it's that good, and then look the other way on it when potentially you're bringing in somebody who could dramatically alter the culture. Yeah, I mean, you can try it. Of course you can. You're running a business. Yeah. So you can also, on the other side, be like, where our culture is so strong, we believe we can handle anything. I think that's putting pride before discretion. And I think discretion is the better part of valor in this situation. And, you know, the two examples that I use involving Aaron Rodgers that I can't get out of my mind. First was that wild card playoff game at Lambeau Field, and Josiah DeGuara runs a shallow cross on a 3rd and 6 or a 3rd and 9 at a key point of the game. He gets open. Rodgers drops it just a perfect dime. DeGuara drops it, and they have to punt. 49ers hold the ball forever. Might have gone down and got a field goal. So therefore now I think it's a 2-score game. All right. Aaron Rodgers not only yelling at Josiah DeGuara, but the whole eye roll thing and the arms outstretched and all that. Well, the next time the Packers got the ball, and for the rest of the game, he basically sabotaged the game. There's no way Matt LaFleur, who's accomplished and well-respected, called circa right around 15 consecutive passes to Davante Adams. Yeah. It had the feel of, this sucks, that tight end sucks, I'm never throwing to him again, dog. If we're going to go down, we're going to go down together. If we're going to leave, we're going to leave together. Yep. He threw the ball to him 10, 11, 15 consecutive. He basically fixed the game. I mean, there's no way as LaFleur calling that. So he went I, not thy, to a high level. Hated it. How about the Ratty Jets last year nearing the end of the year? And the way that whole bordello was working out with him and Davante, just playing games and it was laissez-faire and it was unprofessional.
Yeah,
so that's part of it too.
So I look at it, two things here is Rodgers would have to sit down, whether it's the Vikings or the Steelers. Steelers have so they're more motivated. They just signed Mason Rudolph. Probably don't want to go into the year with Mason Rudolph. That's the only guy on the roster.
Yeah.
But Aaron, as we've talked about, Aaron has to sell the idea that he's different. And I referenced it. It's like Marcus Davenport.
Here he does.
Correct. Marcus Davenport has to sit down with teams and sell them that he's going to be healthy this time.
Yeah.
That's going to be a difficult thing. And I think it's going to be difficult for Rodgers to sell that story to the Vikings, maybe anywhere else as well. In the end, to the moonshot with Rodgers, the idea he's a Hall of Fame quarterback and he's earned a lot of those. He's earned those accolades. Can you pragmatically just say, yeah, I know more what I'm going to get out of him, and it's riskier to then just go to the second-year kid.
Right.
You could say nuts and bolts-wise that is absolutely true. I truly believe, though, that what's best for this franchise in the long term is J.J. McCarthy season.
Right.
And we'll know what we'll have. J.J. is the guy now.
I'm so glad you said that.
And we move forward. That is what's best for this franchise
in the long term.
Tell me, in
closing here, tell me if you think this is accurate. The fan base, of course, is a smart fan base and will understand that there will be some metaphorical moguls along the way with the 22-year-old quarterback playing for the first time.
Yeah.
There are going to be some bumps. There are going to be some problems. But that also is shortchanging. You know, to think they can't get around it is shortchanging the coach of the year on how he can construct games and call games to get around things as he raises a quarterback.
If you were ready,
Kevin gets the benefit of the doubt in this conversation.
If you were ready to give Sam Darnold a 3-year and $100 million deal, many Sam Darnold fans in this town, you were excited about that idea because of what you believed the coach could do with him.
Right.
Then you have to, in some ways, you have to maintain that faith.
Right.
If the coach is going to move forward with a rookie that he identified, now a year into it, but healthy, and moving forward with J.J. McCarthy.
Yep, and so to land the plane here is the immediacy of it with Aaron Rodgers and the Minnesota Vikings is my opinion, nothing from the team. I don't care what the terms are, how many years, how few dollars, or what the situation is. I don't believe it's happening, and I don't believe it's certainly happening now. I'm not going to rule anything out down the road. Why? Because by definition they have a need, and he plays the position. So I'm not going to go zero on it. But when it comes to right now,
right now,
copyright the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want. We'll be right back.